doing the spa thing in order. We get snow peeling and everything, and it's very, very windy. It's probably around 10 to 15 meters per second, maybe. That's very nice. But we have to go down now so we get the peeling on the other side of the cheek. See you in a bit.
Hey everyone, this is Marcus Barton. I'm one of the 3 race directors for Rockman Swimrun, and that was Åsa and Therese. Therese has done Rockman several times. Åsa has done it once. She did it last year with Therese, and they did the original course, the 50K course that's only been raced once back in 2014 on the original race. And it is also the course that the locals dubbed the Impossible Race. So they're very familiar with Rockman, they're very familiar with the terrain, they're very familiar with what is needed for that particular race from a training perspective. They're both Envol members, and I am an Envol coach, and I coach a program called the Rockman Start Line Ready program. It's a group coaching program with Envol, and I brought them on to ask them specific questions about big training blocks. Specifically during the Rockman Start Line Ready and as part of our Rockman program that we have available from Envol, there are several weekends where we do very large training blocks, and a lot of people don't quite understand why. So I brought them on as previous Rockman athletes to talk about those big blocks and the big block weekend that they just did this past weekend. So without further ado, let's get to it. All right, gang. Welcome Åsa and Therese, 2 previous Rockman legends. I called you guys on. Appreciate you coming over and coming on so late. So long story short, you guys are part of the Rockman Start Line Ready program with Envol, and we have it scheduled as part of that training program several weekends throughout the year leading up to Rockman. We have several what we consider big weekends, and those big weekends are 2 back-to-back days of big volume. Usually a 3.5. I think the one we have coming up is a 3.5 to 5 hour day on day 1, and then it's like a 3.5 hour day on day 2, with the mindset of we're going to try and get in about 2,000 meters of elevation gain on day 1, which is about 5,000 feet. And then get in as much as you can on day 2. So you guys did your big weekend this past weekend, which I think works itself out real well for the folks who haven't done theirs. And I know it's timing. Oh, so you're doing the Atala Uta race. So yeah. The timing didn't work. So good job on making those adjustments as necessary so that you could get your big weekend in. But I want to talk to you a little bit about this big weekend and the importance of it, and get your honest feedback and take about that kind of training. So before we get into me asking you guys some questions, tell me an idea. Actually, let me start with, I'm going to start with a video. I'm going to share out a little bit of a video. By the way, this is Preekstolen. For those of you that don't know it, this is Pulpit Rock or Preekstolen, which we'll be accessing on during the race. But while I'm setting this up, tell me a little bit about your weekend and what you guys had planned.
You and me? I think you, Therese, we did this last year, and you planned it really, really good that year. So we kind of did a copy-paste on your suggestion. And I had never done Rockman before. Therese is, several times doing Rockman. So I just listened to her last year. And then, I follow her plan. She survived it the other times. I thought she can take the lead on this. So it's actually you, Therese, who planned this for us.
Okay, so let's clarify. Last year, you said that you did some weekends like this, and you guys did a copy paste. Yes. So before you explain it, let me show this video real quick, and then we'll have you kind of explain what's going on here. So here we go.
871 meters of elevation so far. Yep. But the thing is, we probably can't do much more, because it gets too sketchy with all the snow and all the water. Underneath. It's so much water pouring underneath, so we're afraid to do a slip with the snow or in the water. Yep. So Rockman, we're getting prepared for coldness. Yep. And warmness. Everything. Everything.
So tell me about what that was all about and why you chose that particular location to do it. So I know you did a copy paste. So tell me about that location that you chose and why.
So basically, Åre is the location in this sense, and the reason why we go there is that it's one of the few places in Sweden where you can get 1,000 elevation gain on a mountain in one go. So you can do just up down 1,000, and it's only like 14 kilometers up and down. So getting big elevations, getting this, getting 1.5 hours of continuous work uphill, and then smashing your legs downhill, basically in 45 minutes descent, running hard technical trails. Normally, around this time, the top is there's normally not that much snow, so you can actually go to the top. So last year we did this. It was super nice, sunny weather. We got all the way to the top, and we did that 3 times during the weekend. So we actually do it the opposite of what the training schedule is saying. So we're doing, and it's mainly because of train time. So it takes us 7 hours on a train to go there, and then we go in the morning at 8. So then we have time to do 1,000 elevation on the Thursday. We actually take an easy day on Friday, and then we do a 2,000 set on Saturday, and then we go home Sunday. But it's the same theory, right? That you want to have a big day on top of each other, because normally when you do 1,000 big descent like that, you smash your quads like the first time you do that of the year. So I'm always trying to do that big training in front of a race like this to really smash the quads, and then do another set on top of that to really wash out the legs and running on very, very tired legs. Because then when you do, for me, and I think for most people, often the second day is the worst day in your legs. Mm-hmm. After having done this big descents when you haven't done it before. So then going on that really stiff legs and doing another 2,000 descending on the stiff legs really like hardens both your mental game and your legs. So like having to do that big descent again, like an hour, 45 minutes, an hour of technical steep descents is really good for both your head to deal with that pain, but also when you've done that, it's easier to the next time you do it that the legs are prepared for it. So when going to do this big descents, then it's easy.
Easier.
And I think Therese, on the Thursday afternoon when we arrived, we just dropped the bags and we got up to, the top, and it took, 3.5 hours up and down, because it's so much, I don't know what you call it, big rocks, and, the way to get up there, it's not easy running.
Right.
And then downhill goes fairly quick, because we love that part. And
everybody loves that part.
Yeah. And then on Friday, our legs, I would say, when we woke up, was quite smashed. But then after the big set, when we were out for 5 hours and did 2,000 of elevation, double, the next day we woke up, the legs were better. than after the first set,
Isn't that
which
amazing?
amazed me. And I
Yes.
think both you and me, Therese, had the same experience. It's like, what the heck? On that first day, we got it so smashed. And then on the double set, we actually felt better when going home. It's like, I can run now, you know, almost, you know.
It is,
Really,
it's
really weird.
absolutely amazing how the body can adapt. And for the Americans that are listening, 1,000 meters, about 3,000 feet. So on the first day you did 1,000 meters or 3,000 feet, and on the second day you did twice that. So definitely some great climbing. Let me back up to something that you said as far as the mind goes. I think it's twofold. So I think you have to deal with the mental demons and the bad thoughts and like, oh, this hurts, and you have to kind of push through that. But I think also from a technical standpoint, especially when you're descending, we love that, but you're constantly having to go, do I step on that rock or do I step on that rock or do I step on this flat spot or so your mind's making all of these hundreds of micro decisions in the moment as you're descending. And that's a skill that it's like a muscle that you have to stretch. So people always ask, like, how can I get better at doing technical descents or technical running? It's like, do it more. Because once you get that confidence of where your foot can land and where it can plant and what is good and sometimes where it's not so good and you fall, like I do a lot, um, then you get better at it. So I think the mind aspect of exercising that is also really important. And that's why I kind of really push folks to get on technical trail as much as possible. And you guys said this was really technical, big rocks. And then you, of course, had the cold to deal with. So,
That was on the second day.
right.
Yeah.
First day was
First day
nice.
wasn't that
Yeah.
cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
nice, but
let
we
me,
went higher. And that's the thing. Since we ended up in the snow, like we couldn't do the normal trail because it was completely covered in snow. So we had to go off trail and just try to find a route as high as we could, where there was no snow, basically, and well, there was snow as well. But
let me
this is
show.
day two.
This is
Yeah.
day two. So this is what you had to deal with. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So let's hop into the theater and watch day two here.
Alltså det snöar nu. Det snöar och blåser jättemycket. Therese håller på med ansiktspeeling. Ja. Det är egentligen på ett spa. Gorgeous. We're doing the spa thing in Åre. We get snow peeling, everything. And it's very, very windy. Probably around 10 to 15 meters per second, maybe.
Wow.
That's very nice. But we have to go down now so we get the peeling on the other side of the cheek. See you in a bit.
So let me back it up to right here. Like that kind of gives you an idea of what kind of terrain it is, right?
Yeah.
So it's not groomed trail. It's definitely technical terrain. What how much importance do you think should be placed into technical terrain when it comes to the training? Having done Rockman now, granted it was the original course, but from everything that you know from the top of the stairs down, OSA, because that's pretty much the course it's going to be this coming year, and the course most of the time. And Therese, you've done it before, but OSA you haven't. And last year was the first year for you. So, from a technical perspective, how important is that when it comes to the race as far as the training goes?
Like it's one of the most important things to deal with. You have to do technical terrain, and as much as possible that you can, like rather slow and technical than going on asphalt, because it is as technical as it gets, this course. This year I feel that it will be a bit faster because the first descent is easier.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely runnable if you compare to some of the descents that you're doing from the other, and we're also getting the asphalt down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some of the sections will be runnable, more runnable downhill, what I feel. But I mean, it's except for those two, everything is technical.
Right.
So the more you can focus on technical terrains and especially technical descents, the better.
Yeah. And that's true for both the sprint course or shorter
Yep.
course. It's not really a sprint course. We call it the shorter course. And we don't even call it a short course because it's not really that short. It's shorter. So the shorter course and the trail run and the long course all get the very, very technical. So they don't get the benefit of it being runnable at the beginning like the long course does. So let me just pull up the long course for just a brief second. I'm not going to go through this whole thing because we could talk just an entire hour on just the course. But just to kind of talk about what you're saying is at the very, very beginning of the race, where you're going to jump off the ferry and then kind of run up, do a couple swims. This after this last swim, this run down is fairly runnable. It's still technical. Part of it's gravel road, but this part that comes through the field is real technical. And then once you hit the trees, this green area, it gets really, really steep and
It's
down.
steep, but it's still runnable.
It is still runnable, absolutely.
Did we
And
do
then
that last year?
No.
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 So
Okay.
that's what I was saying, Osa, is that
I did the uphill, right? The uphill
you
part.
right. You went up
Yeah.
you went up the stairs and then did the swims. Then you took
Yep.
this left and started heading out to
Correct.
Garrick. So you didn't get to experience this piece through here, which is just a beautiful.
It's
This is
an
one of my
amazing
favorite
design.
sections.
Yeah, me too.
We
I was like,
And the
we
yes,
can find
view,
new mud.
yeah, and no mud on this.
come
Well,
on.
I can't promise there won't be mud. It's unlikely you'll get mud on this section, but it
Oh,
is
okay.
beautiful, beautiful descent. And then the road that you mentioned, the asphalt that you mentioned, Therese, is just
Yeah.
the section through the farmer's land. It's like 4 miles, like 5.5K or so.
So that is actually the only easy running part in the whole course,
it.
right?
That's it.
Yeah.
The rest of it, you're on technical single track. So,
Yeah.
but that's what you're talking about when you're talking about some of the easier. Then when we get into some of the rest of the course, it's just super technical. So I agree that it's important that you have the technical running. Tell me about running on technical trail versus, say, maybe running around your neighborhood where it's convenient. Why would
Well,
you
I
why
would,
would you want?
yeah, I mean, running on the trails, it makes my feet really numb underneath after a couple of hours, and also because it's not flat, so you have to struggle. Your ankles has to move. All of these things. It's quite, you really feel it after a big session.
Yeah.
And I think that also needs to be trained, because otherwise, when you're doing the long sessions like at Rockman, you're going to start feeling it after 3 hours. But if you have trained it, you will feel it after 6 hours. So
Right.
you're moving, that little pain or tiredness in your feet, in your ankle, a bit forward. So I think it's really important to do the trails for that. Running flat, that's what I'm doing now to recover, because I'm tired from the big weekend.
Right.
So out running flat now is quite nice, because
Yeah.
it's easy for the feet.
So you need the technical terrain to get all the stability muscles, the ankle muscles stronger. And that's another thing that if you don't practice that, those things aren't going to get strong. So, and you can tell running behind someone if they've ran technical trail or not once they get on technical trail, huh? Yeah.
Yes.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not even, I mean, it's the ankles and the feet, but it's everything. It's your core, it's how you balance over the terrain. And it's like, you have to
Therese,
practice.
we
The only
actually
way
felt
is to
it.
practice.
You and me felt it in the hips too, right?
Yeah.
Outside the hips, because when you're running, when it's declining on the slope downhill, when you're running like that, you're kind of running really diagonal.
If
So
it's off camber, if you're like,
Yeah.
if it's at an
Yeah,
angle
yeah.
and you're running this way, yeah.
And that also makes, the stability in your whole body. It's a different thing than running straight,
Yeah.
For sure.
Now, how far of a trip was it for you guys to get to where you went to do your training last weekend?
7 hours on a train.
7 hours on a train.
And I think last year we actually worked on the train because we're lucky enough to do that.
Yeah.
We
There
can,
you go.
do a work day, go running. Need
Little
to mix it
Wi-Fi.
up right. Good Wi-Fi on the train. But
Why travel so far? You guys have beautiful technical trails right there in the Naka Forest. They're close to you.
absolutely. I mean, we do those, but you can't get the long descent that Therese talked about, because here on the downhill, does it take like 40 minutes to go downhill, maybe, Therese? 45?
Yeah, if you
And
go
it's-
from
and
the top in order, you get a 45-minute descent if you push it.
Yeah, speed it up.
Yeah, because it's
And here in Stockholm, we have to go up and down, whatever
you get
we
6
are.
minutes. No, you get 3 minutes descent.
Yeah.
Like that's the longest you get. So, and I think to prepare for a race like Rockman that has that, if you want to be able to move efficiently throughout the race, especially now since we're starting with a big descent of 700-800 descent, it's going to be probably, right? If you run that fairly hard, most people, if you haven't done that kind of descent, you will feel it. And then you're going to start the work right on the other side of the, and that's going to slow you down a lot if you haven't practiced that really, tough kind of descents. And you can't do that if you don't,
And I think it smashes our thighs, right? So the second day when we run, it like you're running on logs, but it's the feeling to be able to do that, to move, even though they are so stiff, and understand it's not dangerous, it hurts. It might decline a bit after a while if you get warmed up or really cold on the swims, it kind of numbs it. But just to get in your head that you can still do it, it's not dangerous, you can push through it. I think that's what we learn up there that we can't learn down in Stockholm. We can do technical trail, but we can't do the descent that smashes your thighs like that.
And so you felt that it was important enough in the race, especially since you're going to do those long descents early in the race, that you don't smash your quads for the rest of the race.
Yep.
You felt that was important enough for you guys to travel that far to get in the training that you wanted for that, to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
I tend
and to be honest, we have quite fun on these trips too, Marcus.
Yeah, we love the mountains as well, so it's an excuse to go there. But it just prepares you, physically. When you have done this weekend, you're just like, I will do Rockman. It's just
mentally, we know we can do it. If we're all injury free, it won't be. We will make it. The time is a different story, but we're gonna make it.
Right.
I think that we get the confidence.
Right. Which is huge, right?
Yeah.
Having that confidence, I know you're being humble by saying, maybe the time is not going to be that great, but that confidence will speak a lot for being able to go faster and be able to shorten that time. If you're not confident on the descents, or if your legs are too tired on the climbs, once you get across the fjord, then that's going to slow you down even more. So I agree. I try to press upon folks that it's important, especially for the Americans that are coming over. They're spending a lot of money and time to travel all the way over to Europe to do this race. Spend a little bit of time in traveling to get some training in to where you can get the training that you need if you don't live close to it. So I really think that's really important. So, and there's a lot of folks that thinks that maybe if they lived in Norway or if they lived in Sweden, that they'd be able to get the training right outside their back door. And I think you guys are a good example of, hey, I've got to train to get the training I really want. I've got to travel far to get it too. So that's the other reason why I wanted to have y'all on, because I think it's a great story for that you guys put in a lot of effort and time to get the training in that you think is necessary for the race. And having done the race before, you kind of understand what it is. A lot of people, as you know, if they haven't done it yet, even all the videos that we show, all the pictures that we show, it still doesn't quite, you don't get a grasp for what it's like until you've done it. So even if you are hunting for new mud.
Correct. And the thing is as well, if you go with your partner in crime for the race, I mean, you learn a lot about each other. I mean, we understand if one person gets, a bit tired, we get quiet then, because otherwise we're not that quiet. So we know, it's time for a gel, or, do you need something to drink? Or like Therese, you need some salt. you get this communication going too in these long sessions that we don't get if we go and do Hammarbybacken or a smaller part, because we're just out for a couple of hours. So I
Right.
think that's important too, to get to know your partner a little bit.
Yeah. Did you guys learn anything along those lines this past weekend? Is there anything new that you learned, or did it just kind of set in what you already knew as far as communication, fueling, hydration?
I think, yeah, the fueling, I think we're getting better at that, Therese, and actually the recovery. So when we got back from the first run, we had our, recovery drinks prepared before. We're going to have proteins, we're going to have carbohydrates, so we can do the long session. So those things we didn't really prepare the first year we went there. At least that's what I'm feeling, that we were, a little bit stronger. We did really good on the eating part. Really good at eating in between the sessions too.
Good.
Preparing it. And I think that's important to
do you feel that, yeah, do you feel that was important and one of the reasons why you felt better the next day?
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's a good point. I don't know actually, but maybe that's also one of the things. I don't know what you think, Therese, there.
Yeah. No, I think it definitely it helped. And for me, it was also very good since last Rockman, I can't eat anything with chocolate, so I had to try some new stuff this weekend that worked as well. And I think we didn't have any lows this time.
No.
We were singing all the time. That's a good sign.
That's good. That's good.
Almost.
Yeah. On the session where you did the two repeats of the full thing, how long were you out? I think it was like 5 hours. Is that
5 hours and 8 minutes.
5 hours and 8 minutes. You got it right to the minute.
Yeah, we got it. And we actually went down, because we went down to the village after the first one, and then we had like a big Coke,
Oh, gotcha.
and then up again. So we didn't have to have everything for the 5 hours with us. So we kind of refueled down there, and then, sat down for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And had a bio break, and then off we go again.
Off you go again. What about the first day when you did just the one lap of the 1,000 meters? How long were you out for that day?
3.5.
3.5. That's right. You said that already. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
It took much longer than it normally takes because we went off track, and we had to find our way down between all the snow.
And to be honest, we actually got lost on the way back on the top.
Yeah, we were like.
So maybe it should have done 3 hours. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what the fun adventures are all about, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right?
The good thing is you know which direction to go.
We're supposed to be there.
Now, you guys mentioned that also that it wasn't just for training, because it's fun to go and do those kind of things. So it helps to give you an excuse to kind of, hey, I want to go here. And even we've done that some. The Linville Gorge here in the U.S. in North Carolina is probably my favorite place to train, and I get there as much as I can. And this is just one of those excuses, I get to go to the gorge. Hey. So I feel excited about it too. And I now live further from the gorge than I used to. I used to be about 2 hours in the gorge. Now I'm a little about 4. So it's definitely a longer way to go. Awesome. Any tips or tricks or any feedback that you'd like to give the other Rockman athletes as they prepare? Things that you may have learned this past weekend, things that you may think that they should know.
I think fueling is really important, since it's so many hours. I would say fueling is one of the absolute most important, because if you get low, it won't become as fun as, if you stay, with a lot of energy. So bring energy. Water you can fill anywhere. You don't need to, carry a lot of water, because you have the springs everywhere. And we used them last year, and it works really, really well. But for me, I think we need to always refuel.
Got it. And I always recommend, and when I race Rockman, I'm just like you. I take advantage of the streams and the lakes and just drink what's available to me. But I carry whatever kind of nutrition that I want to take, what I'm used to, what my body's used to. Yes, we're going to have aid stations. There's going to be aid stations available with different types of foods and fuels. But I usually use that as a pick-me-up or a little additional calories. I'm going to carry all the nutrition that I typically want for the race. Should I not want to stop at an aid station, or maybe they don't have what I want at the aid station? So that's the recommendation that I would throw out there from a fueling perspective. But yes, fueling is very, very key.
I
Last
think
year,
we do the same. We carry
Yeah.
everything as well, and then take additional if it's something we feel like we can eat.
Right.
Then we pick it up.
oh, look, there's gummy bears. Let me grab those.
Then we take those gummy bears. Always really good.
I also tend to really kind of recommend that folks carry theirs, not only the nutrition that they like, but take advantage of some of those aid stations just to kind of as a pick me up, or like a piece of candy or something like that to pick me up. We did have a couple of athletes last year on the long that probably didn't keep track of their fueling as good as they should have, and they felt the effects of it. So it's a great recommendation. Therese, you got anything?
No, but my recommendation is the same as what we've been talking about. If you have the possibility, find somewhere where you can do some big ascents and descents to get this. Now, in this period up until the race, in the next couple of weekends, if you can get some really big descents and try to run them hard so that you really smash your legs a bit, it's gonna help you a lot in the race.
Yeah. And then what about the volume? Do you feel like do you think that having big 3-hour, 5-hour days is important, or is that too much volume? There's a lot of, I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there. There's a lot of folks that think or believe that they can get through a race like this with very low volume training, maybe a 2-hour run on the weekends and some 45-minute and hour runs during the week. Do you think that's sufficient? I mean, give me your honest feedback. I'm curious as to if you think that you could get through a race like Rockman with that kind of volume, or do you really think that these 3.5 or 5-hour days that we're throwing at you are necessary?
I mean, in the end, it's about how comfortable you want to be in the race, right? If you want to get through this race with a good feeling, and knowing that you can get to the finish line, and feeling like you can actually enjoy the ride in some senses, like that you feel that, okay, I got this. Yeah, maybe you can get through, but it's going to be hell.
Right.
You're going to suffer. Your quad's going to hurt. Your ankle's going to hurt. You're going to be in pain. And maybe you make it to the finish line, but it's not going to be a very nice experience. That's how I would put it. Like, some people are very, like, they don't need a lot of training to get through, but it will hurt. And some people need more training, but be prepared and it will be a nice ride, right? And if you're not, it's going to mentally and physically hurt to get through the race.
And it's not a race that you actually can kind of drop out easily from. Let me put it that way. It's not like, hey, can somebody drive me? Because you're going to be out there. So you would like to be able to move forward during the day as well, right? It's not easy that you can take a bus somewhere and say, I'm done. It's not possible, to be honest. So I think that's important too. And I think these long sessions, sometimes people might think it's worse than it is, because you don't have to go that hard. You can do it, uphill. We go quite easy. We try to smash it downhill, but I think it's the hours you need in your body to train the body to be out there for many hours. I think that's also important. So if you think you're going to go out and do a full-on, 100% in the red zone, you kind of lost it, right? So I think that's important too. It's okay to walk when you need to, and then you run, and then you walk. Just make sure you make the time,
Right. Yep. I always tell folks, run when you can run, power hike when you can't.
and we have been doing a lot of power hiking this weekend,
Yeah.
It's what you have to do, because we can't run in a lot of those places. We walk.
Mm-hmm.
for
It's
sure.
it's interesting you brought up the point. It's like it's not an easy race for you just to kind of bail out because you can't just walk to your car. Or 2 years ago, I race directed and didn't race, and we had a team that dropped out because the water was they just felt like they weren't prepared for the cold of the water. So we took them we took them to the bottom of Pulpit, and we had to hike up to base camp, and it was, I don't know, 3, 4, 500 feet of climbing just to do that, just to get up to the lake. And then you had to hike all the way around the lake to get to base camp. I mean, that was the closest we could get them. Their other option is to drive a couple hours from Song of Sand all the way back around to base camp if they can find a ride. So it's definitely not the easiest to drop out. You still have to get out of the fjord for sure.
Yep.
And you have to drag your own ass out of it, so be prepared. That's basically,
Yep.
you don't want to sit somewhere and like, no, I don't want to do that. No, you have to get out, right? So it's
right. So you might as well complete it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe that's one of the things too, don't overdress and don't underdress depending on the water temperature and the heat. I mean, Therese, she gets easier overheated. I get cold. So, it's up to every person, but I think that's really important to make sure you dress accordingly.
Yep. Yep. And this year we moved it up a week. So it's the earliest that it's ever been held. And so therefore it's typically going to be a little bit colder. I think we're going to luck out since there's not going to be a ton of snow, but yeah, to your point, you got to be prepared for the cold swims. That's for sure. Awesome.
On the other side, we've had a very cold spring. So even if there was not a lot of snow, there's still a lot of snow. We noticed.
Yeah. So the water's still going to be cold, especially at the top of the stairs.
Yeah.
That's going to be the coldest.
Yep.
Refreshing. It's going to be refreshing after this long climb.
Yeah, that's true. We need a dip in the lake then.
Thank you for staying up late and helping me by coming on to the call. Awesome. And I look forward to seeing you guys. We're really, really close. So I look forward to seeing you guys.
Yay.
Right?
Yay.
Looking forward.
Bye.
See you soon.